Hello and welcome to another episode of the Christian Reeve podcast. Today's guest is the founder of Infotik, the Glob Studio. He is arguably a serial entrepreneur. He's got many projects. He is the wonderful Manu. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hey there. Thank you for having me on.
The pleasure is mine, man. The pleasure is mine. Um, Lots of stuff to get into, so I think we'll begin with Infotik. I think that's probably a good starting point.
Yeah.
Um, So Infotik is a social media app, this is in your own words, that transforms scrolling into learning
Yep.
by delivering factual, educational, and
Yeah.
engaging short videos. How do you plan to achieve this?
Uh, well, the idea actually came to me when a bunch of us were just at a house party and we realized that all of us were just in our own world, just scrolling through social media. And this was during uni, so I think a lot of us realized that this was harming us in terms of, our academics, our mental capacity, stuff like that. But there was still a lot of good content on social media that we didn't want to completely, cut off of from, because there were stuff that pertained to our studies, to engineering, to coding, new technologies and stuff, really cool, interesting TED Talks and stuff like that. But it just used to get bombarded with all this AI and this brain rot content, these cats and these girls dancing and stuff like that, that, it's really hard to actually pick and find the real good content out of this. So that's basically where the idea came from.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff to pick apart there. I mean, even just like the breakdown of like the sort of things that come up on your feed, like dude, hey, I like pretty ladies as much as the next guy, but I know for a fact that I didn't search that stuff out.
Yeah.
So why is it appearing on my Instagram all the time? It's embarrassing. Sometimes I'll be like searching that someone's putting their name into my phone, like, oh, hey, follow me on Instagram. And there's just all these like naked ladies. And I'm like, I did not search for this crap. Why is this
Yeah.
coming up? Because like obviously the thing is it's catered to your interests, isn't it? In theory, and
Yeah.
sometimes it will be if you look at enough guitar videos, now it's all guitar videos. But like I've tried that. Like most of my stuff, say on Instagram, is musicians and music and me
Mm.
talking about music. And where is that? So there's that. But also just you talking about the behaviors there. That's interesting that all of you had that kind of realization because I don't know, maybe it's a generational thing. I started to notice it, to be honest, from my generation. So I think
Mm.
I'd wager you're what, in your early 20s. Would that be fair?
23 right now. Yeah.
23.
So,
Okay, so
yeah.
boom, he guesses. He nails the guess. But no, so I'm 32, and my generation, like we grew up with the the phones, the smartphones.
Yeah.
Um, so I saw the transition from people using it on a desktop to, oh, now it's on my phone, I can use it anywhere, to people literally being obsessed with their phones. So for all
Yeah.
my generation, like Mark's your generation, like we began with that. And we got relentlessly mocked by boomers and the generations that preceded us about that kind of behavior. But the sad thing about it is obviously how it's affected things. Like when you go out in the world, and yeah, like you hang with your buddies at a house party, or the one I saw that really freaked me out was walking down a street with a friend or my girlfriend, I can't really remember, and it was a central street here in Manchester, and a really really cool restaurant, like somewhere funky that you'd like to hang out, right? Like beautiful booths next to the
Yeah.
window. So you got a view of the city going by while you have dinner with your partner, right? Great. I kid you not, every single booth is just people on their phones, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what's the point? What is the point? You know?
Yeah. You're
Um,
paying all this money to come sit at a restaurant and you're just doing the same thing you could have done at home, at that point.
Literally, and it's. I mean, because you raised a really good point. There is a lot of good content online. It'd be very difficult to completely give all of that up. I
Yeah.
don't necessarily think that that's the answer, but certainly like limiting what we consume and also bringing it back to Infotech, like having a conscious effort to try and put something positive out there, something that's actually useful. Let's talk a bit more about what exactly the offering from Infotech is. So, like you say, Yeah, you're trying to deliver factual, educational, short videos. So, from what I read from your website, I know that you're trying to bring people on board to create content. I
Mhm.
know that there's an element of AI involved as well. Talk us through exactly what the action plan is with Infotech. Like, how are you trying to create this content, and why would people bother to check it out?
So I'll just and start out with another story. So before we actually started Infotik, I decided why don't I just create a brand new Instagram account and follow all of these creators and stuff that I'd really like to watch? Because I don't obviously that should fix it, right? If I'm only following these kind of creators that I really want, TED Talks, Discovery Channel, and Kirkazad, and Zach the Film, stuff like that, which actually has some informative content. So I'm gonna just follow these guys. And for the first 5 minutes, it was pretty nice. That was exactly what I wanted in Infotik. But then soon the algorithm starts to catch up. It puts a cat video here, a girl dancing over here, and just unknowingly you spend more than like a few seconds over there, and the algorithm just snaps on that. They realize, oh, this is how I'm gonna get you hooked now. And so gone were the history and philosophy videos, and down came, the cat videos and the skateboarding videos and the extreme sports videos and the goals. So in less than 20 minutes, I had changed my scrolling from actually what I wanted to just being back to brain rot stuff. So I realized that it's impossible for videos that actually have good content to be able to get the widespread audience when they have to compete against, stuff like this, which gives you the instant dopamine that your brain craves, and the algorithm catches up on that, and it continuously feeds you more. So unless you create a space where these videos do not need to compete with these other videos, they're never really going to get the same amount of attention or eyeballs that they deserve. And I feel that goes for the users as well.
So this is the tricky part, isn't it? Is trying to get people to come to your app. We've seen over the years a lot of different brands have tried to do the same thing that existing brands are doing. Sometimes there's no kind of clear mission plan or statement or anything. Like I remember a few years ago, and it's not in your sphere. It's just like another
Yeah.
Instagram or another TikTok clone. But there was an app called Clapper. My older listeners may remember me being on there for about 5 seconds, and I just, for the life of me, could not figure out what the point was.
Yeah.
And it kind of died a death. It's still there, I think, but just no one uses it. And there's a lot of apps out there that are like that. Either social media apps or they're like just desktop based. Extensions or whatever. Like Blue Sky is one. There's something called Red something. I can't remember exactly what it is. But point is, there's like a sea of these, and
Yeah.
I think to get people engaged in something that isn't just producing fun content, but is trying to produce, let's say, more informative stuff. Like how can you bring those people on board? Like what's the strategy for that?
So I feel more and more people are really realizing the effects and the issues that come with, doom scrolling and stuff like that. Even though the majority of people do it, I don't think anyone that actually doom scrolls actually views it as a positive thing in their life. They realize that it's an issue, but they can't really get out of it. So all we're doing is providing users with an alternative, a smarter way. We'd ideally want people to stop scrolling altogether and get out of their houses and mingle in real life. But we as a society have gone to a point where we need short form content to continuously give us that kind of information or that kind of uh, just that kind of reload, it's something for us to do continuously. So I don't think how short form content is going away anytime soon, but I feel like people are being more aware of the dangers about that, especially the young generation. A lot of people that are using our app is like 14, 15, 16-year olds, and they realize more than us that how much of an issue this is being. So I see definitely if even the younger generation are understanding this issue and they're seeing this as a as a solution, then definitely this is going to be a technology for the future.
Now this is very interesting what you've tapped into because you're talking about Gen Alpha, right?
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, I quickly explain the age bracket situation. So millennial is considered, I believe, from about 81 to 95. It's been disputed a little bit, but that's basically what it is. Preceding that is Gen X, and then Boomer. So on the other side of millennial, it kind of goes from like say 96, 97 to about 02, 03, I think, or maybe
I've heard.
oh 05. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Gen Z, and then yeah, thereafter, oh 06, oh 07 onwards is your Gen Alpha, and it's as the years fly by, it's sometimes difficult to realize like every 10 years you're getting a new generation, and that new generation will indeed react totally differently.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that millennials, we're very critical of Gen Z, but we had lots of brain rot content, especially on like YouTube in the early days. I mean,
Yeah.
we didn't have the issues of being addicted to short form content, but the seeds were planted. There was plenty of crap there
Yeah.
that, you
Vine, for
know,
example.
well, we'll get to Vine. So it was great, but not for humans. um, in the early days of YouTube, God, I sound like a fucking old dad at this point. It's getting there, man. Age just hits you like a brick. It's fucking terrifying. Um, So there were like these like short clips on YouTube. Sometimes they were animations, sometimes they were actual series. It was just silly shit. But the point is, we were consuming that, and we were kids at the time. We were teenagers, and it was just funny. And then obviously you grow up, you mature, you kind of move out of it, right? But the trouble is, Gen Z were kind of handed the internet, and they reacted in the way they reacted, and it was kind of a natural jump off point from what millennials were doing. But they then started getting obsessed with this slop content, this brain rot content, and obviously the advertisers, the social media companies, whatever, they are the true people at fault. Like it's kind of the chicken or the egg thing. It's like, who do you blame, the consumer or the
Yeah.
producer? I would say always blame the producer. It's very difficult, I think, when you're growing up to be that self-aware and know this is bad for me. Like often in life, especially when you're an adult, like you come to that realization after a period of time, after having made some big mistakes, and you kind of come out the other side. Like your example earlier right at the beginning is perfect. I'm sure you guys were like, you'd have jokes sometimes about like, oh, we're spending a bit too much time on this, but like, you think
Yeah.
it's fine, and then one minute it's not fine, and like now you're seeing the aftermath.
Yeah.
Vine is interesting because obviously it was pushing people to deliberately create content that was only a number, like I think it was like 6 seconds or something.
Yeah.
So it was now people were being brought into that, and were not just the consumers but also the producers. And I don't know if people got paid towards the end, or if you just got famous and you just built a career off that. I know a lot of people became YouTubers. People like Logan Paul started there. I hate to bring up his name, but he is an example. Sorry. But the point is, that was really where that kind of was, went infinite popularity. And it's, we've all been there. Dude, I've been there. It's very easy to doom scroll, and then boom, an hour's gone. And the way
Yeah.
I always looked at that is, I can't be doing that again, man. Like it's an hour, man. Like, but the difference is, like, I grew up not doing that, and preferring longer form content. Hence why I do a podcast. I've been doing this for years. One of the biggest criticisms I've ever had from people who don't want to listen to a podcast. They hear, oh, you're doing a podcast. There's all the cliches about podcasts. I actually do
Yeah.
a proper podcast, like how it used to be done back in the day, like a radio show. That's how I approach my show. Like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. It is what it is. You either like it or you don't. Fair enough. But I've always tried to do it like that, segment it, build it, move through your questions in a kind of a way that the listener can follow logically. right?
Yeah.
But the what I would always hear is, "Oh, why don't you just do clips? Oh, I can't listen to anything past 5 minutes." I'm like, you can't listen to something past 5 minutes? Are you kidding me? Like, I don't, and
Yeah.
again, don't get me wrong. Everyone consumes podcasts differently. I don't expect anyone to just sit there and just listen to 2 hours of people talking. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
often, you're going to either have it in the background when you're working, or maybe you're commuting, or, you're working on a project, or you're in the car or whatever. And you might listen to half an hour. And then if it's 2 hours, I'll listen to it later. Like,
Yeah.
I fully understand we all consume things in different ways. But that started to really ring alarm bells for me when it was like, oh, I can't get past this much time. Oh, 3 minutes, that's too long a clip. You should just do 60 seconds. I'm like, I, this, I'm not a 60 seconds guy, man. I'm
Yeah.
long time guy. Like, I need time to, build and tell my pointless, boring stories.
I think this is also just an effect of social media in general too,
Sure.
because them pushing these shorter form content has made our brains, rewire them to seek these kind of short form contents. Because even when you're like taking a shit for 5 minutes, you can't be there without your phone anymore because you can't be alone with your thoughts. You just need a distraction constantly, and the easiest thing is just these short form content in social media apps.
That's an interesting point you raise as well, because we've always kind of had that in us. I think the problem is human beings, we have addictive personalities en masse. So I'm sure you've seen the classic photos of like, oh, look at this generation, they're all on their phones, and then someone will throw in a photo from like the 1930s, and it's all people on like a commuter bus or train, and they all have newspapers.
Yeah,
Yeah, no one's talking to each other. It's all newspapers. It's like we've always been the same. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Humans will consume whatever is popular, whatever everyone else is doing. Like, not just popular, but like it's the fear of missing out thing. You know, I mean, just look at podcasts as an example. Why are there so
yeah,
many podcasts out there? Well, A, it's because you can make money from it potentially. B, it's a very easy way to farm content, clip up. That I've spoken about this on the show before, but people will often produce a show, not really care about the full product because they know most people aren't going to bother to listen to it, but they'll get like the clips. They'll try and
yeah,
create reactions, create moments, and television does that now. I know television's like, what, that still exists? It does. uh
yeah,
the X Factor does that, or is it X Factor, or maybe Britain's Got Talent, American's Got Talent. That show used to be, it's always been a television show, but it used to be somewhat real, and they had the television element. They not all of it was manufactured, is my point. Like, now they manufacture these moments. They fabricate these moments, like, oh my god, duh. Like, I'm terrible at explaining this, but like, it's like, okay, insert sob story, but then also we're going to get you to react this way, and cue audience clapping, and Amanda cries, and and we're going to get all this in
yeah,
sequence, and oh wow, what a moment. And it's all bullshit.
yeah,
you know but it's like we're in that moment now, and you see it on social media as well. If you go through all these clips, you see it in just like public outrage that is faked, fake prank videos, which admittedly have been around since the dawn of time, but still,
yeah.
it doesn't make it any better, right? So it's
But
everywhere.
But I feel also it's mainly influencer content nowadays, because if you look at social media now, it's all these people enjoying their lives in the most richest of ways, and you start comparing yourself to them, and for the majority of part that these are all fake pictures and stuff, and they're
Mm.
trying to create this illusion that they're living this life, but you tending to compare with them just ruins your own mental health, and that's also a huge issue with social media, I feel.
The craziest one I ever saw was influencers queuing up to do the jet photo. So check this out. If you don't know about this, this is wild. I don't know when it was. Maybe it was 5 or 10 years ago. I think it was about like in the mid 2010s. There was this kind of mass exodus situation where like there was just endless influencers posting like, oh, my private jet, oh, I'm getting on my jet, oh, and like it'd be like photo inside a plane with a watch, or guys or girl standing outside a plane about to get on, oh, it's my private jet. It was all bullshit. It was people who'd paid to stand either inside the plane or outside the plane, and whoever like was charging for that was laughing, to be honest,
Yeah.
because it's like free advertising for their planes, and they're getting money from these idiots that are just queuing up to stand next to a plane and pretend it's theirs. Or like people do it with cars sometimes, and it's like
Yeah.
it's a rental, or it's just on the street. And I saw a few like exposure videos where like I remember there was a guy walking down like Hollywood Boulevard, and he had like a supercar there, and he was filming the influencers like laying on his car, and he was just like, get off, and they're like, what? And he's like, get off my car.
My God.
And he like went boop, boop, and they're like, oh, and they looked embarrassed, and they walk away, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing?
But you
Like,
have to think how many of those videos can also be faked.
yeah,
You
that's
know,
what I mean. It's all
actually,
bullshit.
yeah,
I mean, nothing. This is why I fight for authenticity and to just be
yeah,
as real as possible with everything I do, because we need that. People need that. There's too much fake stuff.
yeah.
Anyway, so let's talk about how Infotik is going to battle social media addiction, because as I just laid out earlier, we have this addiction. You know, it'd be easy to get addicted to healthy content. So
Yeah.
what measures are you putting in place to actually battle social media addiction?
So I think the first thing is if you actually take a look at the logo of Infotik even, it's a
Mm.
broken infinity loop. So the idea behind that is we want to introduce you to content, but the idea is not to get stuck on it, but rather get out of the app itself. And that's why every single video is linked to a news article or an information source or a publishing or a paper. So if you find a video that actually interests you and intrigues you, we want you to get off of the app and actually read something about it. So, and I think someone really brought this up in a last podcast I was on, that we as humans aren't used to infinite content. Like before, like last 10 years or so, we never had access to any kind of infinite content. Like newspapers needed to end, podcasts ended, any kind of content, even shows had advertisement breaks in it. But now with Netflix and social media and everything, we just have access to this infinite content. And with social media, especially, you don't even know when it's ending because it's just continuous 5 second clips, and you know if you scroll, there's going to be another one right underneath it. So I feel like humans need to go back to a place where we can actually take breaks, have something to take us out of this loop, that we're getting stuck in.
So there's a lot to unpack from that. I think if you just talk about doom scrolling for a second, like obviously, as you said, like people are scrolling
Yeah,
endlessly, and there is no end. They're not looking for the end. They're looking for the dopamine hit that you're going to
yeah,
get when you see like, oh, that was a great video. I want more videos like that. What I've always found interesting is when you see people scrolling and they're not getting what they want. It's just bad videos, and they're like, "Oh, there's nothing on the timeline. It's all boring today." Oh, and then they get fed up eventually, and sometimes they even just take their phone and put it away. And I'm like, "This is interesting because it's almost like giving a glimpse into what would happen if you would kind of go cold turkey and
yeah,
actually like move away from it. You'd probably start to realize that like it is a dopamine hit. It is chasing a high, as you said before. These shows never end. What happens with Netflix? I don't know if you can edit the settings, but like it immediately starts playing the next episode. It doesn't
yeah,
stop, and you're like, we've all been there. You're like, oh, go on then. Ah, go on.
yeah.
And before you know it, it's 3 a.m. and you've just watched the entire season of Breaking
And
Bad
it even
already. Like,
skips the intro part sometimes, so you don't even
I
realize
hate
it's a
that. I hate when they do
yeah,
that. I'm like, don't you dare. I want to see the intro. Nah, you're 100% right, man. Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because there are positives and negatives on both sides. like I've seen. I mean, just before we came on stream, I've discovered this new series of content creators. They're comedy ones, and they make like little sketches, and they're really genuinely funny, well thought out, relatable, just fantastic, right? I wouldn't want to see that kind of content go away, but I also don't want to get stuck in a void where I can never exit, you know? So I feel like a lot of this comes down to personal responsibility and self awareness.
Mhm.
Is there anything, because I know like you can set on your phone, I know my girlfriend has this set on her phone to like limit your time. So like it will stop you, it will like actually throw you out of the app or something like that. Does
Yeah.
your app have anything similar to that? Any measures in place?
Oh, we're actually just planning to have an app lock because we asked a lot of people on our community, and that's one of the first things that they said they wanted on our app, just to block the other applications. And instead of having a third party application, we're like, might as well integrate it onto Infotik. So when you block it, you also have something to scroll past it, you know? So that was a really cool idea that I think our community came up with, and I think it will work to an extent. But I think the main issue with that itself is we use social media for messaging, and the number of times that I've opened my phone just to reply to somebody's message, and I've got stuck because there exists short form videos just like one tab away. It's kind of scary, and I think social media companies need to take the blame for it because it is kind of like they're peddling a drug in some aspects.
You know, this is a really interesting point. I don't know that I've ever really explored this on the show before. We've certainly spoken about these kind of topics, but I don't think we've ever talked about the responsibility side of things, which I'd like to explore
Mhm.
for a minute. I completely agree with your point. I think it's interesting that there isn't guidelines or regulations or anything in place because it's free content. You're not having to pay for it.
Yeah,
But clearly it's having an impact on people. We're seeing it over time how it's affecting attention spans. Now, the scary part of that is okay, that's fine when you're like 14, 15. You can make the argument, oh, they'll grow out of it. But what if they never grow out of it? What if they go into the working world and they can't pay attention for more than 20 seconds?
yeah,
How am I going to train you to do your job? If you operate heavy machinery or something where you need to have like full attention for long periods of time and you can't pay attention for longer than 20 seconds, people could die. You know, I mean, there's so many elements to this that are so important. And when it comes back to the sense of responsibility that these companies have, they just don't care. You know, it's money. They're getting bankloads from the advertisers. They're selling your data and making bankloads from that. Some of them obviously do the pricing model and make money from that too. Like they're laughing. They don't care until laws come into place to prevent these things. This will continue. But the thing is, it's like, how do you really put a law on these things, or how do you limit these things? Do you know what I mean? Like, when you're looking at the other side of it, it's like it's very difficult to sanction this because people are willingly participating. You know,
yeah,
it's not like these companies are forcing people against their will. There's plenty of content online to tell you, you know, this is not responsible behavior or not good for you. The only thing I can think of is maybe in the same way that we put like little disclaimer warnings on bottles of Jack Daniels to warn people that drinking is bad and or not necessarily that drinking is bad, but the alcohol is bad for you and that you should drink responsibly and blah blah blah. Same with gambling. I worked. I've worked in the gambling industry very briefly. I worked for a company in the marketing to do like financial trading. And I remember how infuriating, but how necessary it was that every single social media post, everything, even if it was just a cute, like, hello, it still had to have a disclaimer at the bottom saying
yeah,
81% of people trading with CFDs and Forex lose their money. Like, as a fact, that was the law, that was EU regulation. Like, you had to put that. And if you didn't, they could sue you and fine you to oblivion. Maybe that's the way forward. I don't know, but
So
it
coming to that, few states in the US have started banning social media for under 16. Australia, I think they
interesting.
tried it, but what they figured is that kids will find a way. Like I think they started stealing IDs. I think one ID was connected to over 100 accounts, and so I mean, you can put as many warnings and labels as you want, but I feel like as long as you're not treating the core of the issue where the people are addicted and they want a solution, it's not going to go away because especially kids who are born in this technology age, they're going to find ways around, some kind of blockade that any government can put in place. But coming to the second point where you made, where you can block certain kinds of content, I think that's more effective because I think in France, I think they made it illegal for influencers to alter their looks basically because it was causing body dysmorphia in people. And that makes a lot of sense because you want to, like, if social media is to just showcase your life and everything, I don't think you should be allowed to tweak how you look and how you present yourself and causing issues to a lot of people who probably follow you. And I think this is even more so in like with AI content because at this point you don't even know what's real or not, and most of this AI content is just trash that just tries to get your dopamine centers firing, and it has no real humanity or there's no personality behind it at all.
So this is interesting. I've spoken quite extensively on the topic of AI over the years. I'm team AI is a bad thing, uh, uh, but not like I want to be clear on this. I think it can be used for good, much like a superhero power. It's just that I know humans. I know humans very well.
Yeah,
You know humans. You know what we're like. Humans are lazy. Yeah,
yeah,
not always, but mostly. And what we're seeing right now with AI is people are being lazy and using it as a replacement for learning, for trying. I mean, like, okay, let's just look at something real quick example. Oh, I don't know this thing. Oh, I'll just Google it. You go through a series of looking for the information, you go find the links, and you educate yourself.
yeah,
You learn this stuff. No different to going in a library and searching for a book and reading it in a book, or when I was at university, we would obviously read extensively journal articles and go through it that way and get what we needed. But the point is, we went through there and we read that content and we learned and committed that to memory, and we learned that thing. Now that's a part of our memory.
yeah,
Useful. Then Google starts kind of like ramming the answer down your throat and kind of eliminating that search element. So it's like, here's the information you need. And then it's a choice thing. You either take what it gives you and go, okay, cool. I don't have to think. I can just insert this, reword it,
yeah,
done. Or you can go, I don't know if I fully trust that. I'm going to do my own search, keep looking, and do it the classic way.
yeah,
Now add AI with the generative. And obviously, I know that it's always been AI, but now it's AI is making the decisions based on algorithms and what it's been programmed to do, whereas before it just pulled up like what was most relevant to your search.
yeah,
So it's like this new element where people are in the same way that like people figured out, oh, you shouldn't trust Wikipedia. You should, look at the sources and base your decisions on are these reputable sources. Don't just trust whatever article is there because it's written by just random people who aren't necessarily in any way educated, or certainly not in that particular thing that they're writing about. Like anyone can edit
yeah,
it, and over the years, some people have hilariously done that. So that's kind of like the main way that people obviously are using AI every day. But then obviously, as you mentioned before, the slop content. I think a lot of us, especially content creators, I myself am a content creator, a musician, etc. So I can see through it pretty quickly. I can see like, oh, okay, this is there's a lot of YouTuber accounts now where it's like AI voice, clearly a ChatGPT script, and you can tell that it's the AI voice because it's like very jagged. So like some people use
yeah,
like really cheap programs to do it. The slightly more sophisticated ones might even have like an actual person like an AI generated person, which is kind of terrified. But the point is, there is now 100% AI generated content, and people are consuming it and are subscribed to these channels, which is kind of crazy. There's
So I
AI
think
music. Oh, sorry.
Oh
Go on.
yeah, no. When you came to the point of AI slop, I think there's actually two kinds of stuff. Which one is the side that's trying to replicate human lifelike videos, which they are getting really close to. But the second thing, which I feel is more infuriating to me, is the ones that realize it's AI and just creates these entire situations that can never real happen in real life. You know, like a dog doing a podcast or babies wearing suits and talking like people. You know. Because like if you were gonna animate that, it's gonna take hours and time and effort and actually have some kind of personal element in it. But now it's just one prompt and you've created this most unlikely scenario that probably can never happen in real life. And you know it's AI, but it's still really addictive because
Mm,
it's something
mm.
that you don't see every day. You know, dog talking in English, where doing a podcast. I mean, cats wearing suits and ties, walking around cities, you know, stuff like that. You know, the I think it's called the uncanny valley or
Uncanny
something like
Valley.
that, where
Yeah.
it grabs your attention because of how weird it is.
I'd be lying if I said that I haven't enjoyed any AI content because like you said, the absurd stuff is funny,
Yeah,
just like memes. It's funny, and at least someone has prompted that. Like people will make the argument, oh, no human element is involved in this, and it's like this is true when you're talking about like, oh, this person made a film or this person made a song. It's like, well, no, it was generated by AI and it's taken stuff from the real world that was produced by real people and put it all together, put it in a pot, mixed it, and now here's your song. So it's not genuine or original or anything. It's just computer generated crap. And it's soulless. I think this is the bigger thing when it comes to like creative stuff like films and television and music. It's like it's lacking that human element. And people obviously, human beings, we're very emotional beings, we're very sensitive beings. We want to tap into that. If we have a favorite musician, we probably want to go see them live and connect with them on that level. You can't do that with AI content. But there is instances like we just discussed where there is a use case for it, at least from a kind of absurd funny perspective. Sometimes it's interesting. I think you get the scenarios you said about like impossible scenarios. There's been scenarios I've seen that it's built which are quite intriguing, like, oh, what would this have looked like, or like historical ones where it's like giving you an idea, well, this might be what Pompeii looked like,
yeah,
and that's kind of intriguing. It is basing it on paintings and historical accounts and God knows what else, but still, that's intriguing. But obviously, going back to the use case thing, it's worrying. Like with music, there's a big thing right now about AI generated bands and how they're getting all these streams and should that be allowed and da 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 da. Going back to what we were talking about before with regards to what should and shouldn't be allowed and should there be regulations and laws and stuff. I wonder a lot of the time about where you draw the line with AI produced content and how it's used. The only
mm,
things I've seen online that act as a deterrence, or maybe not deterrence, but like the only things I've seen that are really impacting AI generated content is I believe YouTube may or may not have put a statement out saying they won't monetize AI generated content. I think that might
yeah.
have happened.
But then the question arises that if these AI generated content exists and is not monetized, then YouTube and other social media apps have an incentive to push these AI generated content because then they don't need to pay out to real creators. So real creators will be losing out on viewership, and these companies don't have to pay out because like it's AI and they don't. Yeah. So the only one who wins here are just the companies.
They always win. It's just
Yeah.
like that. The house always wins in Vegas. It's the same old story. Let's talk a little bit more about AI as far as that information and misinformation is concerned. So, your app is going to utilize AI,
Yeah.
and I've got to obviously ask you about this, given what we've spoken about. how do you envision kind of tackling this? How can you prevent this AI from producing misinformation and misleading people?
Yeah, I think the best example for that is Elon Musk's Grok AI, which turned into Mecha Hitler, I think a while ago. It started supporting the Nazis and stuff like that.
Wow.
But honestly, all of that just comes down to so AI is honestly truthful when like for the most part when the information it's given is wide ranging and more or less truthful, right? So an AI that has access to almost all the publications, almost all the information on the internet will be more or less truthful and accurate. But it's when people try to, sway it by changing the amount of information it's given, the training data and stuff like that, that you start, influencing the opinion of an AI, which ideally it should not have. So, especially when it comes to, giving a rating in terms of whether something being said is accurate or not, or going through a website and figuring out if the information is accurate or not, an AI can do that way better than a human because it has no biases. And as long as we do not let a human inflict their own personal bias onto an AI that is more or less trained in a wide-ranging data set and is more or less accurate, it's not going to have any kind of biases, and the information is more or less going to be more truthful than if you were going to go through an educated human.
Absolutely. And this brings up a really interesting point because it feeds well from my last episode. So I had a guest on who is trying to create like a database of public opinion, right? Which is an intriguing concept in of itself. And we had a lot of conversations about the value of opinions because obviously it's
Mhm.
like it's like the old joke of like, well, opinions are like asses, everyone's got one. But like what you were saying there, but about like the where is the value of an opinion, like, and one of the things we sort of discussed in that episode was that, say if you have an opinion coming from a medical practitioner who is an expert in that field, certainly that means that that opinion is then valuable. If you're training AI to distinguish between verifiable information, factual information, say from like Harvard studies, versus an opinion from some random dude, it's like, well, I think there should be some sort of training involved with that where it kind of discounts or not discounts, but like removes a lot of general opinions and has rules in place where it won't take information that it finds from a public forum. That example you gave of the whole Mega Hitler thing, like I can't help but think that it was just allowed to just scroll social media for ages, and like, yeah, crazy stuff like that is going to happen if it's just
Yeah,
basing everything it knows on the random crappy opinions of people online. I mean, well, people write horrible stuff online every day. That doesn't mean that it should be used, and certainly not trained on that information. Like,
yeah.
it just always comes back to that thing about how valuable is certain information. How can we verify its authenticity? And I think that's always going to come down to having accurate links to studies, links to verifiable information. You know.
So I think how we're handling this on the back end, at least a little bit more on the programming side, is that when it does look at and paste pieces of information, it also looks at the validity of the website. So things that comes from Google Scholar and stuff like that, which are actual published documents, would be given a much higher rating than a news site, and a person's blog would be given a much lower rating.
Mhm.
So we kind of given it kind of these weights to work on, and hopefully with the help of these weights, which we are, completely open about it. You can go to our website, you can check out the entire, list because we are using an open source model for our AI algorithm. So every time we make any changes, we will make sure there's updates on our website. So the idea is if we can't at least become the most truthful thing, at least we can be transparent to our users as to how we're getting to that point. And if anyone has any thoughts or ideas, we're always open to it. Our Discord, I mean, we found a couple of AI engineers there who helped us improve our bots. So we're always open to continuously improving the way that we're trying to figure out whether information is truthful or not.
So how many people do you have on board working with you right now to build this?
So, I mean, paid, I think there's honestly just four of us who are literally started as we're all co-founders. But I think we have almost like 30, 35 moderators who are working for free. So basically, these are the people on our Discord, and they're actually quite young, to be honest. We like they range from like 16 to 20-year-olds. And most of them are just really active and really like the idea. So they take care of user verification, they ban users and posts, they make sure that the community runs well. They run events and polls and stuff. So it's really nice to see how even especially the younger generation is seeing the need for this and taking an active part in it.
Do you not worry sometimes because they're at the younger end that could be seen as a bit of a labor dispute thing if they're, because they are
Well,
providing services for you. It's a bit of a gray
I know
area.
it's kind of an iffy, but it's kind of just they're given the most basic roles, to check whether the information is accurate or not, and they don't really make any higher level decisions. But obviously, there are roles that they can go up to. We have an auto mod level, so ideally, that the hope is, once we do get a good number of investors and stuff, some of these people who have been with us initially can also end up being full-time employees and have them on board at some point.
So what have been like the biggest challenges so far with kind of setting up Infotik and kind of building it into this app that you can use? Is it alive yet? Is it usable now?
Oh yeah, it's live. I think we
Yeah.
have around 15,000 users now,
Damn,
and
there you go.
yeah, and I think most of that happened the last month and a half because of one
Wow.
viral video. Yeah, so it shows the power of social media, at least how one video can propel you to, yeah, whatever. Because the last 3 months before that, we were struggling to get like 500, 600 users, and then like in a month and a half, we went from that to literally 10,000, 20,000. Hit almost about to hit 20,000. But it's great. But I think the hardest thing initially was obviously just creating something that works for everyone. So the first time we created Infotech, it was a great app, everything worked, but it was slow. And I realized that people were so used to, this instant half a millisecond loading times that even waiting for like a second for the next video to load was enough for people to jump off the app. So
Wow.
we had to iterate, we had to work with new developers, create a good backend. We shifted from Google to Amazon because their servers were faster. And I think now we've achieved the speeds that are about the same as TikTok or Instagram. So I think jumping from there to our app shouldn't feel like too much of an issue now.
That's the ultimate irony, though, isn't it? Given everything we've discussed about like how people just don't have very big attention spans, it's like you can't wait a
Yeah.
second. Like, dude, like when I first was using the internet in like the early 2000s, like I remember having to wait for like 10 minutes for a video to buffer.
Yeah.
I shit you not. It was unreal. I wouldn't wish
Yeah.
bad internet on my worst enemy. It's like the lich is the it was the worst.
Yeah.
But it's true, man. Like people cannot wait, and given that the app is designed to prevent people from doom scrolling and kind of get people to engage more. I mean, is there any tools on there besides what we've discussed that push that? Is there longer form content on there or anything that can kind of prevent people from just having this 5 second
So
attention
I
span?
think in general, all the videos that we have are much longer than the ones that you get on Instagram
Mm,
because we do have a 30-second minimum on our videos. But I feel like just that since the kind of videos that we have are, more informative, more people talking kind of stuff, in general, the videos tends to be around a minute or a minute and a half long, which compared to Instagram, which is around 20, 25 seconds is their average video length. I mean, I'm saying that our videos are definitely much longer form in general. But the idea again is to get you off of the app and into reading. And that's the idea with the arrow on the bottom right, that you can just click on it, head on to Wikipedia or whatever the source is that our AI determined was the most accurate, and you can read through it. And ideally, hopefully, you don't leave us to make the arbiter of what you want to read through. But the idea is at least getting you off of the app so that you stop scrolling and you're actually gaining some information. Because even through a minute long video, it's quite limited how much information you can actually get through compared to actually reading through an article or something.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing. I'm going to move things forward and bring this up because I think it's interesting, especially given what we've spoken about with regards to just human interaction with computers and phones and everything like that. So you studied a degree in human computer interaction at the University of Nottingham.
Yeah.
What has human interaction with computers taught you about life?
Ooh, that's interesting. So I feel a lot of ways that what were trying to do in our program was to ease the gap between humans and computers. So I mostly came from a design background, so I was mostly working with the user interface and how it works on the front end side of it, like what information you're given to users and how they can make decisions. And what's really interesting to me, that came out of that to me is that users don't want too many options. Like we want to say that we want to have the most number of freedom, we want to have the most number of option, we love to have that. But when it comes to designing something for an interface, you want to streamline the process as much as possible. And humans in general tend to just want to have an easy solution rather than, have agency over their own solution, more or less, which is kind of interesting to me, at least.
I just feel like the more we advance technology wise, the lazier people get.
Yeah,
It's one of the reasons why I can't watch shows like Black Mirror because to me it's just
it's too
show it.
real.
It's yeah, but for me, and it wasn't even a particularly crazy episode, but the one that ended it for me was in the third season when it was essentially showing you the dangers of Instagram and the idea of having like a social credit system, which we know exists in China. Like it's
Yeah,
fucked, man. Like if you don't have a high enough score, you can be refused like entry into certain buildings and cabs, and they can even prevent you from leaving the country. It's like what?
yeah,
And then there's the danger of just like the consumerist culture, which we're already in that. You know, we are a consumerist culture, and it's only going to get worse. And to bring it to a more positive level, like I'm happy that people like yourself are trying to counteract that in some way with a more positive, healthy tool. I think we need certainly a lot more of that. I'm never going to stop trying to do long form content and educate people and like bring. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I keep doing this show is like you interview people from all around the world, you hear their stories, you hear their backgrounds and their information and what they have to bring to the table. And really, you won't get the full benefit of that unless you listen to the full thing, you know?
yeah,
So it's kind of like incentive to actually pay attention for more than 5 seconds, you know?
yeah,
Yeah, I do believe that we can change and grow and evolve and interact with things better, but I think it comes down to a lot of discipline and accountability. And it's interesting what you were saying earlier about how Gen Alpha is starting to see the issues of that. Because obviously it's natural for generations to look at the generation before and kind of look at their mistakes and what they did wrong and what they did well and kind of pick and choose what they'll do. But ultimately the generation forms itself and will act accordingly. Everything is cyclical. You know, I think that we are beginning to come to the end, believe it or not, of
it
slot
sounds
content.
really ominous.
No, I mean, look, everything has to end, right? The
Yeah,
show has to end eventually, and look, that timeline is never going to end. But human beings will eventually get bored. I mean, we're seeing it now. There's resorts you can go to where you put your phone in at the front
yeah,
desk and you don't touch it for the weekend. You know, there's the fact that there's an increase, and this happened after COVID, but like I think it was already going to happen anyway. And maybe in a weird kind of way, COVID was good for at least for this because people had more time than they knew what to do with, and they
hmm,
got bored. And like, yeah, social media is fun, but it's also a waste of time. Like you get too, as my friend Jewel always likes to put it, if you get too chronically online, it becomes like problematic. It's like, yeah, haha, I know all these memes and videos and stuff, but like, what else do I know? You
Yeah.
know, I'm well educated on internet law, but like, how does this benefit me? Does it help me get a job? Does it help me find a partner? Does it affect the way that I see the world? Like, no, like the way that you're going to do all of that is by going out into the real world and experiencing it.
Yeah.
You know, like I know people live vicariously through others through social media. I know that not everyone has an easy deck of cards that they're playing out. Like there's people in the world that are living in abject poverty in some of the worst conditions
Yeah.
imaginable, and they somehow have internet and they're able to see how other people live, and that's awesome. And I wish them the best. I hope that they, get to a better place in life and are able to root themselves out of it. Sometimes you see these amazing stories where people do, and it's really really amazing to see. But it does kind of beg this question that like how much are we living versus how much are we existing and living vicariously through others. I think that
That's true.
there should be like a push and for each other to try and live and experience things and bringing it kind of full circle. I think that's why Infotik is a good example of maybe a step in the right direction. This
Mm.
idea that we try to put something positive out there, put something that's more informative, and put some value on informative content. Like maybe start to question these things a lot more. Like there's been plenty of conversations about whether or not we can trust content on the internet anymore. I would say generally not. I think you have to question everything, even news sources.
Yeah.
You have to question everything, and I think it's a good thing to question things. I remember learning about critical analysis at school. It's an important trait to have in life. Just because you're told something and you're told that that thing is true does not make it true.
Mm.
You should go through the same process a scientist goes through and goes, okay, well, let's explore why this is true. What are the facts? Where are the sources? How can I verify this? And then finally, how do I feel about XYZ? Do I want to do more research or am I happy to kind of accept said information at this point? You know?
Yeah.
So let's we'll kind of round things off with a couple of final questions for you. So completely unrelated to today's show. What's the best advice you've ever received?
Oh, best advice. Stop thinking about what people think of you, like their opinions of you. Yeah.
Short but sweet, but absolutely perfect. Love it, man. Yeah, it's amazing how much, particularly on social media as well. With
Yeah.
everything we've discussed, it's interesting how that not only can affect how you feel about yourself, but also your actions and how you use social media. So it's an interesting one. What's the biggest life lesson you've learned so far?
Life lesson. Uh, keep making mistakes, but keep learning from them. Don't make the same mistake twice.
Absolutely. And final question for you: do you have any upcoming projects or final thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Oh, I'm actually writing a book that has a lot to do with actually coming up with Infotik. That's the logo for it. It's called I Want You to Eat Mushrooms and Die. It's not about drugs, I swear. It's more to do with the human brain and how it's evolved throughout the time and how we led up to consciousness and our deeply intrinsic connection with nature itself.
I wish you the best of luck with it. Those are amazing illustrations, by the way. For anyone
Thank
that
you.
wants to see the physical version of this show, make sure you go to YouTube and you can see it there. Um, it's been brilliant talking to you about Infotech and what you're doing there, and just to kind of like delve into the psyche of people in this day and age with social media. Cannot thank you enough for being on the show and for sharing your thoughts and opinions and everything in between. And I wish you the best of luck with Infotech, man. I hope it goes well.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was a
Thank
great
you.
show.
Thank you. And to all the listeners of the Christian Reeve podcast, I hope you enjoyed this show as much as I did. As always, be safe, be well, and I'll see you in the next one.